Welcome back to another episode of the Whisker Fishing Podcast. I'm your host, Cody, and today I have my one of my really good childhood to good friends now, Izaac Guerrero,
Hello, hello.
honing in from the big old state of Texas.
Yes,
Uh,
sir.
what's up, Isaac? How are we doing today, man? How are you? How's everything going?
Good, good, good. Hunting's been very busy. Busy
Yes.
season right now.
Yeah.
Yep, especially
Yeah.
with that
Yeah.
cold front.
Oh yeah, yeah, it's coming in, and I'm sure that's rifling up the hunting. A lot of people are probably booking some trips out there, huh?
Yeah, duck season. Like
Nice,
we're starting to hit the tail end of duck season, probably 2 weeks left. So that
very
cold
cool,
front is kind of nice, but everyone's just trying to jam in right now.
nice. So, I know you not so recent, but I'd say more recent than not that you moved out to Texas.
Hmm.
And you and your family bought a ranch and some land out there. Um, Yeah, I just kinda wanna go into kind of the fishing and, the private versus public land and what type of fish you guys go
Yeah,
after and all that good stuff. If you could elaborate on Jesus, if you can elaborate on that, that would be great.
yeah, yeah. No, a lot of private fishing in Texas more than public,
Mhm.
just because Texas is made 95% of the land is private.
Yeah.
So that's mainly the main reason why people fish private more than public. But there's guys out here that own hundreds and thousands of acres. So a lot of times they kind of like let people in if they know you and stuff like that. But it makes it all the better too with private fishing, like, a lot more control, you don't get
Mhm.
guys, like, taking fish and,
Yeah.
just misusing the fish or overfishing or anything like that, but I'd say the main things that we fish for out here that, like, I've caught is, like, bluegill, largemouth bass,
Mhm.
channel catfish. The
Yep.
I mean, you know about the channel catfish out here.
Oh, yeah, dude.
They're
It's one of
they're
my
huge.
favorites. One of my
Yeah.
favorites. Yeah, if you can kinda, elaborate on the bass fishing, I know it's pretty big out there in Texas. You
Yeah.
see some of those, bigger organizations and YouTube channels, catching those hogs. A lot of the time being on those privately owned, stocked
Mhm.
ponds with those just ginormous fish just sitting in there. So if you wanna kinda just go into detail on that and tell all the listeners, how that
Yeah.
works and how that's going, and
Yeah.
went, you know?
Yeah, well, I think the size of them is really the leading cause of people stocking their ponds too, just, like, maintaining their ponds, and
Mhm.
if there's algae overgrowth, like, they add things to just kinda limit that, and any weeds that may affect fishing, they'll take them out, so I think that's why fish are able to have larger lifespans out here, and so able to reach, like, bigger sizes and stuff like that. But yeah, like we just stocked our pond with I think like 200 fish and stuff
Very
like that.
nice.
And so like a lot of bluegill, a lot of that bluegill and minnows probably got ate by some of the smaller bass and probably some of the smaller bass by the bigger bass.
Nice.
But yeah, it's I don't think I've ever seen out of like how long I've been fishing, and I don't even know how long I've been fishing for now. I think like 8, 9 years.
Mhm.
It's a different class of its own out here. Just big.
Oh, yeah. Oh,
Yeah, they're
yeah,
just
dude. You
huge.
see those videos and, um, you see all those videos of people just catching some absolute hogs out on those ponds
Hmm.
out in Texas. I know, I think it's still Guggen. I don't know if they
Hmm.
changed their YouTube channel, but dude, I see some videos still popping up and them still out there and, just catching some absolute hogs, and you just see, the size of the pond. It's not a huge pond, maybe
Yeah.
like, a 5, 6 acre pond, but like still like they're just ripping some hogs out of there.
Mhm.
And, I
I would
know, what was that?
I would say, like, I think also, like, why, like, people catch bigger fish, the bass are a lot more aggressive than I've seen them in other states.
Mhm.
They're,
Yeah.
like, super territorial out
Yeah,
here.
I mean, when you have, those private stocked ponds, you don't have everybody and their mother fishing those ponds. So those fish just become, more aggressive and they're just striking hard because
Yeah,
they're not used to people fishing them. You'll get probably maybe a handful of people to fish those ponds every single day, and they just are able to feed and just get so big, and I know that they just fight so hard because they're not used to being caught.
right.
Out here in Idaho, everything is mostly public land. So you're battling with other people for spots, and that's the challenging thing is, me being a fisherman, just finding those spots and finding those areas.
Right.
And I've definitely done good with being able to find my spots away from people and doing good.
Yeah.
But yeah, we
Yeah, I
don't
mean,
have as many opportunities for that private pond section of fishing,
yeah,
which is kind of cool to
and
see in Texas.
yeah, I'd say like Idaho too, just like with public land, like fish get smart, so like if they see the
Hmm.
same plastic over and over, like I've been through this already, like I'm all right. They just
Yeah.
they don't bite at it. Versus
Yep.
out here, like you can huckleberry fin it and just put a worm on a hook and throw a line
Exactly.
out there and you get smoked.
Yeah, that's how I caught one of my bigger bass this past summer, dude. I was catfishing on the Snake River, just another ordinary day for me. Um, and I was just jigging a night crawler because I was like, all right, I'm not going to use the soft plastics. I've been only
Mhm,
catching, the smaller ones. I was kind of crappie fishing,
mhm,
kind of using them for catfish bait. But I was like, you know what? I'll
yeah,
see what this night crawler's about, go old school. I was doing weightless and I just dropped it by this bridge and it just smallmouth just came and smoked it, dude. Like a 4, probably maybe close to 5. Some people were commenting 5. I don't think it was
mhm,
5, but and oh my god, the fight on some of these bass are just insane, dude. He was taking me
yeah.
anywhere he wanted all across this section of river, dude. It was pretty insane.
Yeah, I mean, I caught a bluegill, like a pretty decent sized bluegill. Like I didn't understand how big bluegill get until I got out here because I'm so used to like catching small little bluegill guys, but they get
Yeah.
huge out here. They
Oh
get
yeah,
freaking
dude. They got
massive.
some slabs out there.
Yeah, and so like I just threw a worm in there with like I didn't even like cast or anything. I just like set my line in the water and then smoked,
Boom.
put it on my bass hook, threw it out there, and then like as soon as it hit the water, my pole just went boom, and I was like, "Oh, it's just the bluegill I threw in." And next thing you
Yeah.
know, like it just tugging. I'm like, "Oh, I got another fish!"
Mhm.
And caught like a
Yeah.
good like 8 9 pound bass.
Yeah, dude. That's exciting. Yeah, dude. I mean, that's the kind of the big difference out here is I wish that we could use live fish bait for bait because it's
Hmm.
it's it's first to none. I mean, it's probably the best bait you can use for multiple fish species, but for catfish especially. I mean, they
Yeah.
just love those live bluegill, live crappie. I know people catch them on live smallmouth, and there's not really a lot of leeway here, and I think it's due to the amount of public land there is.
Right.
A lot of people can just access. I know there's still people out there that do use live fish for bait in
Hmm.
Idaho and they just don't get caught. I'm not one of those people just because I'm not willing to go to court and have to pay
Yeah.
a fat fine. But I understand the reasoning just because the public
Yeah.
land is just
Because
anybody can access it. I mean, when you're on
yeah.
those private ponds in Texas, there's only a handful of people fishing those ponds with those live
Right.
baits. So at the end of the day, it's not getting overly um, baited with those live fish.
Right.
And I mean, at the end of the day, I do kind of disagree with the whole live bait because you know, these
Right.
fish eat fish. Like this is
Yeah.
what they eat. They're not eating, these artificial baits you get from the store. Sure, they
Hmm.
may work, but at the end of it, like they're eating fish. So, but that's a discussion for another day.
Yeah.
I want to get into the hunting side in Texas because I know that's kind of one
Hmm.
of your big things right now, and
Yeah.
I know it's huge, kind of with the private versus public land and how you guys kind of go about it. And if you want to elaborate and get into that, that would be
Yeah.
fantastic.
Yeah. Again, same thing as the fishing part. Is just private. It's a lot more accessible than it is public, just
Hmm.
because there's more of it. But it's safer
Yeah.
hunting on private, because you're not getting these random guys. Like you can have a guy sitting in a blind in a tree, and then you can post up 10 feet away from him.
Yeah.
In
Yeah.
public
Yeah.
land, and there's a lot of guys out here that claim they've been hunting their whole lives, but they're not safe hunters, and
Mm-mm.
so it just you're putting the risk of getting shot when you're in public land.
Oh
But
yeah.
on private land, like, especially if there's a hunting guide already on that private land, like, they do a lot of the work, like, we'll scout the whole week, like, we'll
Hmm.
send them pictures, like, so, like, what we're looking at is like, "Oh, like, I want a buck that scores, like, 190, 200." Like, "Okay, like,
Hmm.
alright, sounds good," and we'll look and like, "Okay, we got a couple in mind." and so pretty much they just get here and they get to go straight to the blind, and we just tell them like he's gonna be out here and these next couple hours, and then from there they just kind of in and out kind of thing.
Yeah.
And so a lot of these guys that come out hunting, they're really busy with like their jobs, and they're like
Hmm.
mainly like CEOs and all that jazz. So like they just only have the time to go in, shoot something, get out.
Exactly.
Like
They want to, they want to get in and out. And
yeah.
um, that's a good part, about having so much private land. You just have these people that know their land, know what's out there.
Hmm.
Hey, we got this animal for you. Come out, this part in the morning, this part in the afternoon, come shoot it. You know, um,
Yeah.
the kind of talking to some people in this state about hunting. I mean, you'll see them trekking for miles and miles and miles, and that's part of hunting. Obviously,
Right.
it's part of the journey, and I respect that 100%. And but it's just crazy what these guys have to endure sometimes just to be able to get a good size muley, which is a big
Hmm.
mule deer we have out here. Is kind of one of the main animals that a lot of people hunt, and it's just insane the terrain that they have to go through. And like, dude, there's people that would
Yeah.
train like months
Yeah.
in advance for a hunt because they know that they're going to be going up and down in elevation,
Hmm.
which is just crazy. And with that public land, that brings just so many people trying to hunt the same spot. I mean, I'll be
Right.
fishing out on the Snake River and I hear gunshots probably 20 yards away from me.
Yeah.
Fucking like just um, you know, trying to run for the hills. I mean, I remember one time I was fishing and I heard this guy just ringing shots off and he was probably like 20 yards away from me to the right and I literally put my body against this like gravel hill or this like dirt hill. And I
Hmm.
just laid like this and I was just like listening for more shots. And I was just like, dude, that was literally right there. Like I almost packed it up and left. Thank God I saw the guy pulling out with his truck and leaving. But I don't know if he was just shooting for fun or if he was hunting because like I said, there's just so much land. You can pretty much shoot anywhere as long as it's uh public land,
Hmm.
BLM land. So it's a lot different out here. Um,
Yeah. And what's nice,
hunting.
what's nice about private land too, especially since if you have good owners of that land that are maintaining it well,
Mhm.
they can nip any problems in the butt. So like if there's a sickness going around the deers that can affect other deers in the area, like you're gonna have to shoot it, get rid of it because you want to protect all the other animals. So that's what's nice about having so much private land, especially with good
Mhm.
owners, is wildlife management.
Oh, yeah.
You don't get overpopulation, and unfortunately, a lot, especially with public land, you get a lot of guys that go out there, and like I was saying before, they don't when you go hunting like in private land, it takes a while. You're probably gonna have to
Oh,
take the
yeah.
whole weekend, if not the whole
Yeah.
week, and so they're gonna shoot probably the first thing they see, and that thing may not be ready to be shot. It has good
Yep.
genetics, and it's only maybe a 1 year old, 2 year old. It's
Yeah.
like like it's not even a full buck yet, and they'll just shoot it, and that's like kind of unfortunate because it's just gonna bring problems for the near future.
Yeah, exactly. I
So
mean,
yeah.
it's just, you shoot one of those younger deer and some people, that's their way of life and that's how they put meat on the table. So,
Mhm.
if it's legal, there's not much you can say other than, yeah, you could have probably let it grow for another year and like,
Right.
that deer could have been twice the size, more healthy, just thriving a lot
Mhm.
more in the environment rather than just taking it out like that. But, some people are hunting for more than just the sport, um, which I do respect, but it's pretty tough, especially if that deer wasn't ready or that animal wasn't ready. And
Yeah.
like you said, I mean, like they're going out for, weeks at, days or even weeks at a time just to get an animal. And I've heard guys having to like if they're on a solo hunt, like for an elk, they have to go in, they're dropping in, walking 7, 8 miles, maybe even more, having to make multiple trips back and forth just to pack out the meat. And it's just like an entire like 2 or 3 day process of them just walking back to their truck or their camp
Yeah.
or wherever they're set up and then walking back to the animal, grabbing more stuff, packing it out, and just this whole process going on for days on end. And it's pretty insane hearing these type of
Yeah.
stories.
And especially in Idaho, you have to one sec. In Idaho, a lot of people mule pack. So like these guys are from out of state or like they don't go hunting often, but they want to. Like having to go to like a local and be like, hey, like, can I use your mules and stuff like that? So like, you really got to prep because you don't want to kill an animal and then not be ready. And
Yeah,
like,
not be ready to pack it out.
yeah, like, cause you got to know how to debone it,
Mhm.
skin it if you want to skin it. You got to be able to have the knowledge to do all that just to make the kill worth it and like effective. Cause like, I don't know, we definitely don't want hunters just shooting stuff just for the hell of
Yeah.
it, you know?
Yeah, yeah, definitely. Yeah, so, let's kinda get into, your job right now,
Mhm.
working at an exotic ranch. If you wanna kinda get into that and tell the people, your whole process and how your, company works and all that good
Yeah.
stuff, that would be fantastic.
Yeah. So I work at a ranch called 1024.
10-4.
Yep, it's a Dr. Pepper saying like a marketing scheme from Dr. Pepper. The ex CEO of Dr. Pepper is the owner of the ranch, so like
Mhm.
that's why they adopted the whole Dr. Pepper thing. But yeah, 10-4, it's a marketing thing that they used to say that people would crash at 10 o'clock, 2 o'clock, and 4 o'clock of the day. So they would say, like, to wake up, drink a Dr. Pepper. So that's where that came
Yeah,
from. So the ranch is
very
called
cool.
10-4 Ranch. It's on my hat right
Nice.
there and
There
stuff like
you go.
that. And yeah, it's technically a preserve. We own about 2,000 acres in the high fence and 10,000 outside. So around 12,000 acres total.
Nice.
Yeah. And well, I mean, there's a lot to know about the ranch.
Yeah, so, like, what
Yeah.
type of, animals are you guys having in the high fence? And then also, what are the animals coming through to that other 10,000 acres?
Yeah, so on as far as the other acres we have that we run cows on, we get coyotes,
Mhm.
pigs, and stuff like that. We get some whitetail that are around there, but inside the high fence, let me bring up the list of animals we have because
Yeah, dude, that'd be great.
we we got a lot. All right. So yeah, we got whitetail and then we got like red stag and elk and stuff like that. But then when we get into our exotics, that's when we have like a large variety of
Yeah.
things. Like we start off with like axes, nilgai, red sheep, mouflon, waterbuck, gemsbok, bleesbuck, fallow, blackbuck, oryx, zebra, sika, sable, wildebeest, lechwe, and American buffalo.
Yeah, so you guys just got it all there. Um,
Yep.
I do hear that you guys also, have some bison or some
Hmm.
buffalo,
Yep.
as some states call it, and you guys I believe it what was it, like, maybe a month ago, you guys went out and got one, and then that whole process of skinning it and deboning it.
I, yeah. I think since then we've killed 5 buffaloes.
Nice.
Yeah,
Nice.
so
So how
yeah.
does that, kind of go down? Like, what are you guys using first to kill the
Yeah,
animal? And then how does the process of packing it out and bringing it back
mhm,
to, the shop to get it all deboned and, um, ready for sale or
mhm.
consumption or whatever you guys use it for?
Yeah, so first, a lot of the meat that we kill, can't be sold, just because
Okay.
it's just through, like, the FDA. It's not
Yeah, yeah.
approved through the FDA, so they're more than welcome to keep the meat, and they can do with it as they please after, but
Yeah.
technically, it's not for sale.
Yep.
But yeah, we'll track the buffaloes and, like, see what part of the ranch they're in for, like, that week, and we'll just keep track of them. Also, just for health, we always check on all our animals throughout the week, make sure everyone's
Oh, yeah.
good and stuff like that, and then if we get a guy that wants to shoot one, we're like, "Yeah, no problem," and we'll have them all loaded up around 6:30 in the morning. We'll go out and we'll scout him. And really, depending on how good of a shooter he is, that's one of the parts of a hunting guide that we have to look at is we'll shoot with them, and if he's a very confident shooter and is very capable of shooting long distance, then we'll
Mhm.
give him that. Like, yeah, yeah, okay, we know that you can safely kill this animal and not
Yeah.
wound
And
it
not,
and make this thing
wound
go
it and
through.
then
Yeah.
exactly.
And if they're not, then and they wanna tell us like, "Oh, I wanna shoot like a buffalo from 800 yards." Like, "Yeah, you're not there, man.
Yeah,
You
no
still need
way.
practice."
Yeah.
And so
800 yards is a long shot.
yeah, and so, yeah, we'll find them and then we'll pick one out that we like, and we'll set them up and just tell them where to shoot. Like, "Okay, you're gonna shoot just behind that shoulder."
There you
And,
go.
luckily, a lot of the guys that we bring out there do exactly as we say and shoot it. I think out of the 5 that we've shot, 3 of them hit it right in the heart, and
Nice.
then the other two like in the lungs, chest. So they're all
Nice.
really good clean kills. And from there, they're so heavy, so we have a
Yeah.
tractor that goes out
Yeah,
there
yeah.
and picks it up.
Gotta haul them up.
Yeah, and then we have a cleaning shed that has like a winch and everything, and it pulls it up, and we'll start skinning it, and it takes about 45 minutes to an hour about
Yeah.
skinning
Yeah,
that
yeah.
buffalo, and then
What do you
we'll
guys do? Oh,
what
sorry.
was that? No, what was
What do
that?
you guys do with
The hide?
the hide? Yeah.
Yeah,
Do you guys normally
it's
have it
up to the
laid out
guy.
and like nice.
Yeah, it's up to the guy.
That's cool.
So we have a walk-in freezer. So we don't
Nice.
do any of the taxidermy or tanning. So
Yeah.
we'll put in the freezer until someone or one of our taxidermists comes and picks it up. But yeah, we'll skin it, and it's before we skin it, we talk to the customer like, okay, are you wanting a shoulder mount? Are you wanting a head mount? Are you wanting European mount? Are you wanting a rug? So with
Yeah.
that, all that information, we know how to skin it.
Yeah.
'Cause, if he's just like, "I want a European mount, like, I don't want, like, a taxidermy head, I just want the skull with the horns, and that's it."
Yep.
It's like, "Okay, so that means, like, once we get to the neck area, we really don't have to we could be a little bit more careless with it and just kinda get it moving quick." And so, yeah, after we skin it, we'll gut it, and we'll put it in the freezer, and then take it to a processor.
Nice.
And that's pretty much the same process for, pretty much
For all
all of
the
our
animals.
animals.
Yeah.
Mhm.
Um, what do you guys normally, shoot? Like, what is the
The
gun of
gun
choice to
Yeah.
take one of those animals down?
Mhm. Yeah, so we use all of our guns are from a rifle company called McCorder, and we shoot a 7 STW.
Okay.
That's, one of our bigger guns that it's one of those one and done guns for sure.
Yeah. How big is the round, you would say, if you had to kinda measure it with your or if you
Um,
have a round or
yeah,
anything comparable to size, that would be pretty
yeah,
cool.
let me see if I have one in the back real quick.
Yeah,
One
no
second.
worries.
Here we go. Found it.
Nice.
Okay. So, usually it does have, like, the top part of the bullet,
Yep,
maybe, I don't know, maybe a quarter inch
right
of
about
the way,
there.
but that's a 7 STW.
Yeah, that's a big round.
Uh See if I can find and put it up to the yeah,
Yep,
7
I can see
STW
it.
right there.
Nice.
I got up to the palm. It's
Very
got
cool.
that, but with the tip
That's a
sticking
big
out.
round.
Yeah, yeah, it does a good job. It's usually a one and done deal.
Nice.
Yeah, so it's 7 STW, and as far as, like, the whitetail and other animals that we shoot, we usually go with, like, a 6 XC or a 6.5 Creedmoor.
Nice.
Mhm.
A lot probably a lot smaller rounds than
Yeah, a little
or
tiny
yep,
bit, but they're fast bullets.
yeah.
They're very fast, yeah,
Nice.
high velocity.
If you had to pick your favorite animal on the ranch, whether it's to hunt or just kind of, admire and see, what would that be? Because exotic ranches, man, they have so many animals. I mean, you just listed off a bunch,
Mhm.
and I was just kind of curious to see like what your favorite animal is
Yeah.
to either hunt or just kind of see and just be in awe of because you don't get to see that every day.
I'd say the one I guess I have, like, 3 categories, like, the
Hmm.
ones that, like, every time I see them, especially when I take people out on hunts or, like, tours, is a zebra. Not a lot of people see
Yeah,
zebra besides the zoo, so, like,
yeah,
that's always cool to see. But the
that's super
one
cool.
I think is the rarest to see at our ranch is a lechwe. It's a
Yeah,
type of antelope. And then but the one I think I have the most appreciation for is our oryx, scimitar oryx, only because at a point, not too long ago, they were starting to hit the, extinction, like, threatened to get extinct, and so
hmm.
this, organization sent a mass email to all hunting ranch carrying oryx, like, "Hey, their population's super low, like, let's see if we can try to recoup." And so now we have a really big, healthy herd, and now
So
they're
what type
not
of animal is that?
I believe it's another type of antelope. A lot of these
Cool.
animals are types of antelopes like black bucks type of animal, bleesbuck, gensbuck, um, lechwe. Yeah, they're
Hmm.
all fall under the nail guy. Actually is actually an antelope as well. It's
Yeah.
one of the bigger ones. It stands about 6 feet tall.
Damn.
It's a big guy. Yeah,
Yeah. So,
they're popular in Texas. Neil guy, very popular.
yeah, that's cool. So a bunch of subspecies,
Yeah, they all
which is
fall
very
under
cool.
that family. Yeah.
Nice. Nice. Yeah. So, kind of going into our last topic here, I just kind of wanted to get into our a little bit of our childhood fishing stories because
Hmm.
me and Isaac are from the same hometown, Livermore, California. If any listeners out there know the area, but we did quite a bit of fishing when we were younger, mostly when we were in high school. But we had a bunch of good stories and some good days fishing. I do remember one day we went out to the Quarry ponds. There's this
Hmm.
spot, and I know a lot of people, if there anybody going to be listening to this podcast at some point, are from Livermore. They know exactly, or anybody from that area, Pleasanton, Dublin, any fishermen from there too, definitely know the Quarry ponds. It's a set of ponds, and we're not going to go into detail on kind of the spot itself and um, that stuff, just for some reasons that I don't really want to get into, just because I don't know if it's gonna get flagged. We're not live here, so I'll cut this part out. But I don't know if it's gonna be get us in trouble, because it's definitely not you do some stuff when you're younger, but it's good fishing. So I remember one day we went out there, and it was I believe it was me, Isaac, my brother, and Wyatt Calkins. Shout out Wyatt. Um, and we were fishing one of these ponds, and it's kind of like private section fishing, because you don't get a
Yeah.
lot of people to fish out there. You
Right.
get a handful of people, and like I said before, there's other groups of people that we do know that do fish out there.
Hmm.
And it is just nonstop action all day long. I
Hmm.
remember we went out there one day, and we must have caught, my goodness, probably a few hundred bass in
Hmm.
like a span of 4 hours. I mean, it
Oh
was
yeah.
literally every cast you were catching something. And we were using soft plastics,
Hmm.
brush hogs, and Senkos and all that good stuff.
Yeah. It was pretty simple fishing. Not a lot of. It was
Yeah.
really just I think like how we were talking about private fishing. It's just these fishes are not so used to plastics just being thrown out there, and so they're territorial. So when it hits, soon as
Yeah.
it hits that water, they're like, "What is this thing?"
Yeah,
And it probably
exactly.
helped. I think it was spawning season when it was
Mhm.
going on,
Yeah, it
right?
was. It was. So we were
Yeah.
catching a bunch of different sizes, mostly, 1 to like 3 pounds.
Yeah.
I think you caught a decent one, kind
It
of
was
a
like
football looking
yeah, like two
bass,
point
maybe.
something.
Yeah, and then I think Wyatt caught a decent one that day too,
Mhm.
but I remember that spot just being so good. It was probably one of the best days I've ever had fishing, dude. It was just nonstop action. We must have had 50 or 60 a piece, like, easy. And that's even an exaggeration. I'm being dead serious. Like, it was
Yeah.
just insane. Like, it was nonstop action. And largemouth bass are fun to catch, dude. It's a lot
They
of fun
just yeah,
catching those.
yeah.
Um, I do um I do remember one other story. We went out to, where was it? Kind of in the foothills in California, Jackson. I think it was out
Oh,
by
yeah.
Jackson, kind of old mining
Mhm.
towns up there, and we had some old buddies that owned some property up there, and they had a series of ponds that were just kind of in the area that were open to the public. And I think there's like a set of 3 of them, and the first 2 were smaller ponds, and we didn't really catch much. I think we caught a handful of bass there, and not
Yeah.
many though. But we get to this 3rd pond, and it's just like, it's a pretty good sized pond. Like, it was like the size of probably like Shadow Cliffs, a reservoir, kind of in our hometown. Maybe
Mhm.
a little bit smaller or a little bit bigger. I don't know. I remember it being pretty big.
Yeah.
And I remember just this fishing all day, same thing, just, soft plastics, very, very simple way of bass fishing. And I think everybody was getting on some. And then we go to this corner, and I remember before we started fishing, there's this kid that was, so there's a property line. So there's kind of a hill going down into this like little bit of like a cove marsh area. And there's this kid that came down from his property, and he's just like, "Have you guys seen Bubba?" And we're
Yeah, that's
like,
what it was.
like, "What?"
I was trying to think of the nickname they gave it. I
Yeah.
was like,
Yeah,
"What is"
yeah. And I was just like, "What?" And he's like, "Yeah, it's like a 9-pound bass that lives in this cove,
Just a
dude." And
tank.
like, and we obviously like, I'm not gonna lie, I didn't believe the kid. Like, I don't think anybody did. Like at that point, we are like,
Yeah.
"Oh no, he's telling us a
It's
little.
just
He's a fishing
it's
tale
just
right now."
it's just not common in California ponds to have that big of bass. I mean, like,
Yeah, no. Mm-mm. I mean, you hear some lakes like Clear Lake and
yeah,
Lake
big
Shasta
lakes.
having some big
Yeah,
boys, but like not a pond at like that size.
yeah.
Um, and I remember we were just fishing this cove, and I don't know if you kind of want to take over here, but I remember you just hooking up into this fucking absolute giant, and
Yeah.
like,
Well, like, I mean, I was getting bites all day, and one thing about that pond is, like, there's a lot of weeds, and so, like, we'd all
yeah,
get snagged, and
mhm.
I remember getting hit hard, and I was just like, "Oh, that's something." I started pulling, I was like, "Ah, no, like, never mind, I just got snagged." Like, it probably bumped it, and I'm just caught on, like, some branch or weed,
Yeah,
and I just see my line in the water just I was like, "Oh, shit, I got a fucking fish."
yeah,
And so I'm reeling in, that thing's putting on a fight, like, loosen my drag a little bit, let it swim a little bit, tire itself out. And but when I started reeling it in, I think I just got caught in the weeds. Either it was a really big fish, I just hadn't had like the right line for it,
oh, I remember
or
it jumping out of the water, dude. That was
yeah,
that,
that
and that
thing
kid was watching you reel it in. He's like, "That's him,
free
that's
willy
him."
style, dude. Free
Yeah,
willy
dude,
style. That thing just
jumps out of the
soaring out the
water, dude.
water.
I was like, "Oh my goodness, that was the biggest fucking bass, biggest freaking bass I've ever seen in my life." Um,
Yeah. And I remember I was like,
and
grab the net.
yeah, dude,
And
I'm
then
like
you're
grabbing the net,
walking
and I'm like,
behind me,
and then the
and
line just snaps and hits me right in the face, and I'm like, "Oh fuck, oh
yeah, I
frick."
was like, I remember when it
Yeah,
snapped, I was like, "Dude, that must have hurt so fucking bad. That must have hurt so
yeah,
bad."
yeah, dude, that hurt like a butt cheek on a stick, dude. I mean, it's
Yeah. Or
just
I
right in the
think
face.
I feel
It
like I have,
was
like, in California, I had, like, the worst luck with, like, hooking on a big fish and just not reeling him in. Because I do remember another story we went to
carp fishing.
yeah, carp
We
fishing, but
went
what was
carp
that?
fishing, dude.
Yeah, like, by
Um,
Pleasanton, Dublin.
yeah, so
I was
there's
I
a
was out.
canal that yeah, dude, we woke up really early one morning and, there's a canal right off of 580 and 680, kinda where it merges, and I love to fish for carp, dude. The fight on them are awesome.
Mhm.
They fight so hard, and, we were fishing this canal, and, it was pretty early in the morning. It had to be, like, maybe 8 or 9.
Yeah, I
We
was
were out
like
there for
yeah.
probably an hour or something, and the way that these fish bite is they literally just, like your rod is just folds over and just it's
Yeah,
like,
because
I lost a rod out there.
they're like, they're bottom feeders, right? So, like,
Yeah,
it's
they're
like a
bottom feeders. It's like
like a
catfish.
Roomba.
It's just yeah, dude, it's just boom. When they take your stuff, you're just praying to God.
Yeah.
And I remember just I see he's asleep. Isaac's out, dude, and he's just like out in his chair and his rod just goes folds over. I'm like,
Ooh.
Isaac, and he wakes up and he grabs the pole and sets the hook, dude. And it was a big
Dude.
carp. It started heading straight for the rocks, and I was just like, oh my god, dude, get away! But like at that point, the
Yeah, it
canal is
was
so
yeah.
it's so like narrow, like it from one side to another, it's maybe like 10 yards. So it's
Yeah.
a very shallow canal, and like it's difficult to get these fish in at times. And this time it was just like went straight for the rocks, and he didn't even have time to wake up at that point. He just like I was like Isaac, and he like it was like reaction, just jumps out of his chair and like sets the hook, and I'm like, and he's not even awake yet, and it just goes straight for the rocks, and I was just like, oh man, it's gone.
Yeah, dude, I was like, "Oh, damn." That's, like, the one story I remember, like, vividly. I was like, "Yeah, you gotta
I
stay
do
awake during
remember one
fishing."
time we were out there, and that's like the one picture where I just look like an absolute buffoon, and it's just my hair is a mess, and I'm just like, I mean,
Yeah.
every picture I take with a fish, I look a little bit odd,
It's just
but
the work that you put the work in, and it's just
yeah,
like, you just like
yeah, and Isaac, we didn't have a net, and I remember Isaac just jumps in this canal and, like, grabs the fish, and I was just
in my
like, dude,
jacket. I think I had
yeah,
my jacket. I
yeah.
used my jacket.
You use the jacket to, like, net it, and we bring it back on shore. I was like, "Dude, that was, like, the coolest thing anybody's done for me while we fished." Like, he
Dude.
just jumps in, no hesitation,
Well,
and just gets the fish in.
I think you and Zach I remember I tried getting into fishing, and I think, like, I encourage so much people to get into fishing even though, like, it's embarrassing at first, like, "Yeah, you don't know what you're doing, man." Like, everyone has an embarrassing fishing story, it's funny. But I
Yeah.
remember going to
Oh yeah.
Val, and I'm like, "All right, fishing," and no one in my family fished, and I was like, not a lot of
Mhm.
people knew how to fish, so we go to Big 5. I was like, "All right, well, I think we need a big pole." So I think I bought, like, a shark fishing pole
Like a shark
and
rod, big old
a
heavy
shark
duty.
rod. Yeah, because I'm like, in my head, I'm like, "Well, I don't wanna lose a fish," and so we go to Val, and we just start casting from, like, the bank, and this guy comes over, he's like, "What are you guys fishing for?" And I was like, "I don't know."
I don't know.
And then the guy's like, "Well, like, maybe you should get something like this, like, that's not too small, like, that's too big. That is way too big." And so I was like, "Oh, man, that's embarrassing." But I think it wasn't until I started fishing with you guys when I got into it and kind of getting more knowledge of it. But I remember seeing that fish, I was so stoked. I was like, "Dude, we gotta get this in. Like, this
Yeah,
is
dude, it was a
the
big
biggest thing
carp.
I've seen in my
It
life."
was yeah, it was I mean, it had to be I don't know, 12, 13 pound carp, maybe a little bit bigger. Dude, it's a beautiful fish, dude. I was holding it up. I
Yeah.
was just like, it had some great patterns on it, and like the fins on it looks really, really cool and like rugged and rigid at the top.
Mhm.
And um, I mean, it was a fun day of fishing. I think we ended up catching a few more that day too. So,
Yeah.
um, but yeah, dude, we've had a lot of good times fishing over the years, especially
Yeah.
when we are still all back in California. But
Gotta
yeah,
do gotta do a fishing trip soon.
yeah, definitely.
Some ocean
I
fishing,
definitely
bro.
yeah, dude. I mean, I went crabbing
That's right.
very recently, dude, and that was a
That's pretty
lot of
cool.
fun. Big arm workout. Dude, my
Oh, yeah, I'm
arms have
sure.
never
Forearms?
been dude, my triceps were cramping. I literally like would look at my arm after and it was like straight like I just got out of the gym. I swear it was wild.
Um,
But I'm going back to Cali at some point in the summer and I'm gonna go shark fishing.
yeah,
So, dude,
dude,
if you're
that's
in
sick.
town, dude, like let me
Yeah.
know. Like we could definitely set it up. I got a few buddies that do it all the time and
Yeah,
they have all
it's
the spots
big.
and stuff.
It's big in Texas, like, in the Gulf. A
Yeah,
lot of
yeah,
dudes
the
that go
Gulf.
shark fishing.
Oh
A
yeah.
lot of dudes.
Um,
Yeah.
yeah. But yeah, kind of just wrapping things up here. Yeah, I appreciate you being on and telling us
Mhm.
all about, the fishing and hunting and, private versus public land and all the good
Yeah.
stuff in Texas. And yeah, man, I'll definitely have to have you on again in the near future for another episode because I'm going to be doing this quite often.
Mhm.
Um, but yeah, so
Yeah.
everybody, tuning
Uh,
in.
there's a lot of activity at the ranch, so there's always new stories every day.
Exactly, dude. So I know there's going to be a lot of good opportunities for new content. But yeah, for anybody, listening or not listening, but going to be listening, yeah, tune in to the podcast. I'm just kind of racking up the episodes right now. We're going to be posting at least probably 3 by the end of the month or early February time. And yeah, just stay tuned for that. Yeah, and that's all I got for today. Yeah, like I said again, thanks for being on, Isaac, and I
Yeah,
appreciate you taking time out of your day
absolutely.
um, to get this going.
Yes,
So yeah,
sir.
all right, everybody, have a wonderful night, day, wherever you're at, and we'll see you
Merch.
next time.
Merch. We're gonna talk about merch real quick. Buy my man Cody's merch, Whisker Fishing Man. It's gonna come out
Yeah,
soon.
we're getting that started very soon. I'm kind of getting the design and kind of the color patterns that I want. We're gonna be doing shirts, beanies, hoodies, you name it. I'm gonna have it. It's gonna be pretty
Thongs.
very. It's gonna be very. It's gonna be a very very simple process, and yeah, I'm gonna make it easy for you guys, and I'm excited to kind of drop this on you. And yeah, so thanks for everybody that's gonna be tuning in, and I appreciate it.